Hi, good morning, and welcome to the ZP Vlog and Podcast. So I just want to say that if you were expecting the ZP Developer Zone, um, we have definitely done it, but um, we've done it in it. Sorry, I did it in another video. So if you're expecting the ZP Developer Zone, don't worry, we've done it in another webinar. But let me just jump into this and just say this is the ZP Vlog and Podcast. We like to do this every week, and it's really just kind of trying to summarize news or material that ZP's put out during the week. We do, sort of report on a lot, but I think it covers a sort of a whole host of different applications. So something that's kind of interesting to us at ZP is, we make a biosensor, and one of the oldest, I think one of the oldest biosensors around is actually the glucose sensor. I mean, just for interest, I think the oxygen sensor was invented in 1956, and I think the glucose sensor kind of came around about a couple of years later. So glucose sensing's been around for getting close to 50 odd years or 60 odd years at this point. That said, there was always new and interesting applications for it. One of these, for example, is measuring sugars or glucose in potatoes. Seems first of all kind of an odd thing, but essentially if potatoes have too much glucose content in them or sugar content in them, then when you fry them they tend to get dark. And so a sort of a big use of potatoes in the world is in fried products. Depending on where you are in the world, the word chip either means crisps in some parts of the world, or it means potato fries in other parts of the world. It's quite confusing, but when you fry potatoes, if they've got a high sugar content, then they tend to blacken up, and that's not, it's not acceptable by the consumer. So people who are interested in frying are actually looking for potatoes with less sugar content. So lo and behold, ZP with our biosensor technology and also our SensiAll platform are really quite good at measuring the sugar content of these kind of materials. And that was just a little note that we put out there this week. On Thursdays, we always do our ZP Developer Zone, which is really just answering technical questions that come in during the week. One of them that we did this week was talking about TAS, pH, nitrate, and hypervalue electrodes. And we covered all that in one of our webinars. And also, somebody was interested in our gold electrodes. It's something that I can't emphasize enough at the moment, to be honest with you. Gold as a material is so expensive, and by the time you've processed this into inks and pastes, it's even more expensive material. So I'm really trying to warn people off that biosensing, immunosensors, DNA detection, these things don't have to happen on gold. There are coupling chemistries that work on carbon as well. And if I was to make a sort of another argument on it, there's also sustainability, that gold mining is not the world's most environmentally friendly process. Just sort of look on it online and you'll soon see these kind of large scars in the earth, and you'll also see, if you sort of Google poisoning of the Amazon River by gold mining, for example, I think you'll soon start finding some materials around that. So anyway, we discussed gold electrodes in this in the ZP Developer Zone this week. Some other kind of bits and bobs that we put out from this week at ZP, I think it was quite interesting. At ZP, we are ISO 13485, which means that specifically certified for the development of sensors for human health. There is a strategy, if you're trying to make a biosensor, to also work in the veterinary space as well. So we're quite skilled in those strategic decisions required to actually get a medical diagnostic to the market. And one of those spaces is veterinary. So we can have quite a good conversation about the pros and cons of going into veterinary before you actually go into human health. At ZP, we do have a platform called SensiAll. SensiAll is really part of our kind of lean development strategy. Lean development is just go from idea to tangible product, called an MVP, a minimally viable product, really quickly. And we have this whole platform called SensiAll. And we demonstrate that SensiAll is actually a very good product in its own right, because if you look at our FoodSense brand, it's something that we've got out there on the market. And this week we actually had an inquiry about measuring the pungency of mustard. So we did a sort of a whole webinar through FoodSense on allyl isothiocyanate. It's easier to say as AITC. Allyl isothiocyanate, even for a chemist, is quite a little tricky term. And we did discuss the measurement or quantification of that molecule, which ends up being the source of pungency in mustard. And we had some nice data behind it as well. So it's just, I suppose it's a reflection. If people ask us a technical question, especially those kind of interesting technical questions, then we will give responses to that during the week as well. Also, a nice, interesting article that we put out there this week was the qualification of point of need testing. What I would say is if you make a point of need testing and it's in the food, beverage, agriculture and agriculture, you can, for example, get it to be made an OMA, an official method of analysis, by an organization called the AOAC, the Association of Official Analytical Chemists. Now, AOAC are not, it's not a regulatory requirement to have these things sort of blessed, or not blessed, but certified by these people. And to be honest with you, it's a 10-year journey. So what we're finding is that if you want to come up with a point of need test, you have to go ahead and do it, and you have to sort of validate it for yourselves and maybe verify it with third parties. And then eventually you can also maybe get it made an OMA method by the AOAC. But that is quite a journey, especially if there's not a precedence for the kind of test or equipment that you already have. And so, you know, a sort of company known to us spent, I would say, a good 10 years actually working on that. So you can, if you make it your milestone to get AOAC approval, then you really have to think about the length of time that can take. And actually it's something that we're interested in, but we do have to kind of describe it as a journey. And it's not something you like, oh, I need that in order to launch. Well, if you need it in order to launch, you can't rely on investor money over 10 years whilst you busy get that done. You have to be able to launch before that, but it's okay to have a milestone to say that we're going to try and become an OMA. And I've known companies, or I know definitely a company that's been on the market for a while. They at least say, you know, we're a world leader in it, and only of recent have they actually then got that kind of qualification of their assay. Something that's really kind of playing back to Sense It All and FoodSense is what we're really doing with FoodSense is actually we're digitizing the food ingredients market. At the moment, the food ingredients market kind of deals with paper, and it deals with certificates of analysis, which maybe arrive by paper or arrive by email. But with ZP, the way, you know, when we're testing either the pungency of ginger or the hotness of chilies, we're actually digitizing it and, you know, storing it in the cloud. So we really are part of kind of digitization and traceability in that food ingredients market. So that is something that I want to emphasize, which is different about that particular technology. And then just today, I kind of made a bit of a confusion, but because questions come in quite regularly, we're finding ourselves having to do a couple of webinars a week now sometimes on answering technical questions. So we did have some technical questions that came in. We did a special Sunday version of the ZP Developer Zone. One of the questions was about implantable sensors and corrosion on electrodes, and the other one was about measuring pH, redox, urea, and conductivity, which we were perfectly happy to answer, and we did a special webinar on that this week. So with that, if you've got any questions for ZP, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and as always, we're happy to answer questions. Okay, thanks very much.